Ōkunoshima.
Hello, friends, lovers. Let's see if we can remember how to do this. Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is 5 minutes. 5 minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. I don't know. I feel like I'm out of practice.
Well, we're still in Japan.
We're still in Japan. Oh, my gosh. Hello, friends, lovers. Thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir for this Sunday, the last day in April, April 30th, 2023.
Wow.
Wow. We're talking Tokyo. We're talking Kyoto.
It's been a month.
We're talking Ōkunoshima.
Well,
And we'll tell you what that means in just a minute.
we're talking sumisen.
Yes. And we may have watchers, listeners, viewers from the land of is it the rising sun?
I think it's the
sun
rising
that
sun.
never
I think
sets?
it's the
red dot.
No,
you know.
it's the land of the really amazing, awesome people.
It really is.
Who I absolutely love and I can't wait to see again.
So, thank you for joining us. We just got back, earlier this week, but we just got back from Japan. 10-day trip.
Yep.
Well, 13 hours on an airplane, so call it a 9-day trip.
Still recovering from jet lag.
On this, day 120, the 120th day of 2023, your best year yet. You have got 245 days left to make it so. Christmas in 239 days, just in case you're wondering how long you've got to finish your shopping. Yeah. Halloween in 184 days.
Oh, so close.
And summer is in 52 days.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting because the spring's been a little disappointing up here in Motown.
It's going to be one of those springs. It's going to be a 2-week-long spring of 60-degree weather, and then it's going to go to 80.
I feel shortchanged, but no, you actually have 52 days left until summer. Or, if you are down under, anywhere south of the equator,
Happy Halloween.
52 days until winter.
Yeah, it is Halloween in Australia.
Halloween in Australia.
Yes.
Too cool. Very, very cool. Take a quick look here. I see we've got some of our best audience members are in the chat. Good to see Petya on Facebook. And Apollo Zeus says, Team Nasir. The team is back. Finally, Unsigned 32-bit individualist. Hello there. Got your note. Owe you a reply. And Equal to Reality is in the chat as well. Bring it on. We want to hear from you guys. April 30th. April 30th, 1945. Adolf Hitler blows his brains out.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, talk about the weirdest on this date.
Didn't you tell me that he didn't just do that? He first took a cyanide tablet.
That's right.
Just to be sure.
That's right. Both him.
He was a very thorough man. He was a very good watercolor painting.
Yeah, he
person.
was a punk.
Yeah,
because both him and Eva Braun, his wife of one day, he married her the day before. Like, I'm going to kill myself tomorrow. Let me get married. Because I'm the worst person in the world. He takes a cyanide capsule. She takes a cyanide capsule. They're going to commit suicide. But he hasn't even got the stones to wait and see if the cyanide works. Then he grabs a pistol, sticks it on his temple, gives himself what he really should have done 25 years before.
YouTube's going to censor us for all of our S words that we're saying.
Oh, that's right. Violence.
Oops.
And
oops. Bunnies, rainbows, unicorns.
We are going to be talking about bunnies and rainbows. I don't know if we're going to talk about unicorns. I got a couple other on this dates, just real quick. On this date, 1803, TJ, Thomas Jefferson, the best guy ever. We should have brought the bust over of him that's sitting on the piano. But Thomas Jefferson buys enough land to double the size of the United States. This is the date on which the Louisiana Purchase was made. Very, very cool. It's interesting, too, the original goal of the Louisiana Purchase. Now, the Louisiana Purchase, we think of Louisiana as that state way down by the Gulf of Mexico, but this really wasn't the Louisiana. This was the entire, well, I guess what we call the mountain states area. Everything, the Mississippi up, double the size of the country. Why did he do it? Why did Thomas Jefferson complete the Louisiana Purchase, buy all that land from France? He said, Napoleon, I want New Orleans. Now,
that's a worthy conquest right there.
It is worthy. It is so worthy. Now, historically, New Orleans was strategic because it was the port of the Mississippi River.
Yes.
But in my mind, no, he wanted New Orleans because that's where the parties were. That's where the fun is. That's where the jazz music is.
Yes,
that's where the Creoles are.
Yes. That's where the great food is.
Whatever reason Thomas Jefferson had, whether it was the ports or the fun, he did the right thing on April 30th, 1803. It's also the date that George Washington was sworn in as the first American president. I was going to read part of his first inaugural that he read on this date. It's interesting. It's full of that modesty that we associate with George Washington, that, this task is too great for as flawed a man as I am. This is like one of the greatest guys in the world. And he was incredibly humble, too much so, but not necessarily in a bad way, just... Man knew his limitations. Frankly, I don't think he had any. But it was on this date, 1789, his inaugural. And one more. And this is an important one. Because this is the date in 1997. So not that long ago, right? This is 26 years ago. This was the date on which Ellen DeGeneres' character on the show Ellen Morgan, announced that she is gay.
Yeah, that was 1997, right?
1997.
Yeah, actually, good for her. That was a really good thing to do, and that really helped things because everybody really loved Ellen DeGeneres. She came out on the comedy circuit, and everybody just loved her and laughed with her. And she was so clever and so intelligent and brilliant.
And what's kind of fascinating to me about that is she actually came out herself 2 weeks prior to this show airing. And it was kind of hard to keep it, you film these ahead of time, it's hard to keep it under your hat. So you can see that. But the bigger event was her coming out on network television. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you mean? The real Ellen DeGeneres, the actual comic, the person, the personality, wasn't her coming out the big thing? No, it was a very big deal to have an openly gay character on television.
Yeah.
In 1997.
Yeah,
1997. How we think like we...
Not even 30 years ago.
That was normal. Who cared? Nobody cared. We go back to the hippie era when everything was okay. No, it was still a very big deal.
Yeah.
We can talk about that in relation to present battles in the culture war and why both the reactionaries and the militant, for example, trans activists, are both wrong, but we're not going to do that. We're having too much fun today. So I'm going to move on from that. We'll come back to it next week or the week after that. Yes. Important conversation to be had, but not today. It's also the birth date of Carl Friedrich Gauss, the great mathematician and scientist. There's a reason why we called for the longest time, we measured magnetism in Gauss, or Gauss. And let's see, he lived to be 77 years old, born on this date in 1777. Again, accomplished both in mathematics and in physics. Hell of a guy. They don't call it Gauss anymore. They measure magnetism in Teslas. That's the SI. I forget what SI stands for. Somebody will remind me what the Standards Institute is called. Maybe it's the Standards Institute, but it's in French. Anyway, birth date of Carl Gauss. If you don't know who he is, look him up. Fascinating story. Brilliant guy. One of the smartest people in history. He should be like as famous as Newton. Cloris Leachman, born on this date.
Oh, she was the best.
1920. Was Cloris Leachman the best? Yes, she was the best. A lot of people celebrated Carol Burnett's birthday earlier this week.
Oh, yes. And she's still alive.
And I kind of think of them together.
Yeah.
Even though we lost Cloris Leachman a year before last.
Yeah.
At the age of 94, I love it when people live for a long time. Mm-hmm. On the HBL, Harry Binswanger's letter, we talked about long lifers and how in the next 25 to 50 years, that won't even be old. We're all going to be living well into our hundreds because of life extension technologies.
That would be nice.
But 94 is good.
94 is great. And Cloris Leachman was dancing, and she was active. And, for all of us good people out there, I hope that happens to all of us. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and for a lot of us who knew her as a personality more when she was older, not older, but, over 50, starring in so many Mel Brooks films, for example. We don't necessarily remember unless you've seen, like, The Last Picture Show. She was a knockout. Oh, my God. She was a looker.
Yeah.
But funny and personality and all that good stuff. For those of you thinking, well, what about people who are still knockouts? It is Kirsten Dunst's birthday. She's only 40 years old. So there you go, you young guys. I always go back to Spider-Man. the first what I call the first Spider-Man movie
do?
with Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire. That was the movie.
Right.
And did you know that Sam Raimi directed that film?
I did know this.
Okay, well,
because
there you
I
go.
love Sam Raimi, and I love Bruce Campbell, and I love Army of Darkness, and I love even Hercules with that crazy Kevin Sorbo in
Kevin
it.
Sorbo, that's right.
And I love Lucy
forgot
Lawless. And,
Sam Raimi and Tapert, Rob Tapert had to do with that?
Yes.
So, yes.
Lucy Lawless and...
yeah.
I'm forgetting who played Gabrielle. Let me know. I just love that
Renee
show.
somebody.
Yes.
Renee somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so happy birthday to Kirsten Dunst. And also Gal Gadot is 38 years. Gal Gadot is actually younger than Kirsten Dunst. She's 2 years younger, turns 38 years old today.
Oh, nice.
And I had to get her in there because we did recently see the sequel to Shazam. And that was great fun. And I won't say whether or not Gal Gadot shows up in that film because that would actually be a spoiler for something that is clever in that movie.
Jason on YouTube says today is the Czech Republic Witch Burning Day.
Czech Republic, which,
Great.
That's, so all of our fans in the Czech Republic,
if you're a witch, then don't get burnt.
be careful.
Yeah,
Watch yourselves out there.
Just carry around a fire retardant canister.
Yeah. Oh, the burning of the witches, April 30th, huh? Yeah. And if you are a witch burner, it's actually May 1st. We got the date wrong, so you missed your chance. Hold off until next year.
Yes.
In fact, under holidays, it is the Day of the Child.
Oh. But actually, I should say this.
Yes.
They don't really burn witches nowadays. They just have a big bonfire and...
Toast marshmallows for them?
They toast sausages on sticks.
Sausages
and they
on
strum
sticks. That's even better.
guitars, and they sing their favorite songs, and that sounds very magical indeed.
You know, if you can take the skinheads bowling,
Yes.
then you can take the witches to a bonfire. Or is it the witch burners? Either way. Y'all lighten up out there. Man. So yes, under holidays, it is the Day of the Child. If you have children, honor your children. You should do that every day anyway. And I always talk about objectivist children of objectivists, because they're like bunnies. They're just some of the sweetest families out there. And this coming Wednesday, we're actually going to be interviewing, James Valiant and I will be interviewing Catherine Dickerson again as a follow-up to the show we did a few weeks back about parent effectiveness training.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
And she's going to have a couple of special guests on joining us, including Brian Cross, businessman who has learned a lot from PET, and Leanne Biederman. And the Biederman family, if you know them on Facebook, on the socials, it's another one of those just the cutest family. You're like, why wasn't my family like that? Not that I have any complaints about my childhood. Love you, Mom. But, so cool. Catch that on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a wonderful applied philosophy, psychology, all, parenting, applied ideas, which is exciting. Isn't it exciting that you can take ideas, and if they're rational, you can actually apply them to reality, and all of a sudden your life is much better and you're so much happier.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and finally, one more holiday. One more holiday today. April 30th, 2023 is Honesty Day. Now you think, well, where did that one come from? I certainly didn't know, so I looked it up. And it turns out it was started some time ago in the 90s by author M. Hirsch Goldberg, the author of The Book of Lies. Fibs, tales, schemes, scams, fakes, and frauds that have changed the course of history and affect our daily lives. Well, I have not read the book, but it's interesting that the author, Hirsch, decided that April 30th would be Honesty Day. He wanted to start that holiday, and he chose April 30th because it's the opposite end of the month from April Fool's Day.
Very clever.
Certain amount of logic
Super
there.
clever. Oh, and thanks so very much, Apollo. Gabrielle in Xena, Warrior Princess, was played by Renee O'Connor.
There you go.
Cheers.
Well, I got the first name. Thank you for the second name there. So it is Honesty Day. Again, the last day of the month, since April Fool's is the first day of the month. I don't know anything about the author M. Hirsch Goldberg, but I do know that honesty is the recognition of the fact that the unreal is unreal and can have no value.
Yes.
That neither love nor fame nor cash is a value if obtained by fraud. That an attempt to gain a value by deceiving the mind of others is an act of raising your victims to a position higher than reality. where you become a pawn in their blindness, a slave to their non-thinking and their evasions, while their intelligence, their rationality, their perceptiveness become the enemies that you have to dread and flee, that you do not care to live as a dependent, least of all a dependent on the stupidity of others, or as a fool whose source of values is the fools he succeeds in fooling. That honesty is not a social duty, nor a sacrifice for the sake of others, but the most profoundly selfish virtue that a man can practice, his refusal to sacrifice the reality of his own existence to the deluded consciousness of others. Close quote. You know where that came from, Ayn Rand.
She really knew her stuff. She really knew her human consciousness. She knew her way around human consciousness.
Yes.
Quite a bit, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's interesting to just reread that every now and then.
Yep.
And then look in the mirror and say, have I still got that right? Am I practicing what I believe to be true? So happy Honesty Day to everyone and all of you out there.
Have a good relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Reality comes first. To heck with the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we actually have some enthusiastic folks here on YouTube today.
Good.
Thank you so very much. Alex, equal to reality. It's also National Bubble Tea Day, which is great. Sounds like a refreshing drink that would be great today.
I was disappointed when I found out bubble tea doesn't actually have bubbles in it.
It has those little tapioca pearls in it that kind of swell up and become jelly-like, and it's kind of fun.
You can pretend they're bubbles, or I don't know, they're metaphorical bubbles.
There's actually a new place down the street that opened up, that Kung Fu Tea, and I want to try it. They serve bubble tea there.
Bubble tea in Motown. All right.
Maybe we should go there after this. National Raisin Day, International Jazz Day, speaking of New Orleans, and adopt a shelter pet day.
I saw that.
That's great.
I decided not to bring it up because we've been without a rabbit for too long.
Yeah, I know
and it doesn't really fit in our plans right now, but it's been so tempting lately.
We were asked by the lovely lady, Catherine, is it? Who you're interviewing.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and she asked, is this your bunny? Because I posted some bunny video, but it was somebody else's bunny.
It's not
our bunny. We don't have bunnies right now. We don't have any pets. We don't have any snakes or toads or newts or geckos or...
Dogs or cats.
Or dragons.
Whatever people have for... It's, I miss, but it is a luxury too. It's a big luxury to maintain a household without any animals underfoot, and yet at the same time, I love the bunnies. We're going to talk more about bunnies.
Yeah, we'll have, and by the way, today's show is probably going to go a little long.
It might.
I should just warn you all in advance here.
It might.
Oh, and by the way, I guess May 8th is Great Lakes Awareness Day.
Cool.
Well, that's going to fall on that Monday, so... and then, of course, tomorrow, for all you Wiccans out there, is Beltane.
Beltane? What is Beltane?
The Gaelic May Day Festival, traditionally held on May 1st, or about midway between the spring equinox and summer solstice. The festival name is synonymous with the month marking the start of summer in Gaelic Ireland. So, all you pagans and Irish people out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, have your bonfire. And roast your weenies like they're doing on the witch burning day in the Czech Republic. Okay, so
under shameless self-promotion, I did do 2 shows this week. Back on the schedule, so I did do an episode with James Valiant called Oops, The Consequences of Error, Big and Small. And there's a link to that in the show notes, but you'll also find links on that, if you visit that show, to earlier shows that Amy and I did, and a whole lecture that Amy did about mistakes.
Yes.
Making mistakes.
I've got
how to make more mistakes.
I need to write an article and transcribe that and put in writing so it's more accessible.
You should. You should make a whole essay
really
out of it.
Good stuff in there. That particular video, a series of videos, my very first time actually publicly speaking. So please have mercy on me. But it's great content. It's just the delivery is a little dry, but that's okay.
First time out.
I since actually did that 3 or 4 times.
You
that
did.
talk.
You did. You initially delivered it. It was first delivered at Chicago Minicon in 2011.
Yeah.
But it was reprised at the AtlosCon, the Atlanta Objectivist Conference, in 2013.
And of course, Great Lakes Objectivist Conference.
Yes.
Our conference.
GlowCon.
Yes. And
So, yeah, very good. You should follow the links to hear that. But yes, this week I did do an episode called Oops, The Consequences of Errors, Big and Small, with James Valiant on Keeping It Real. And then the other one was, well, my Thursday show, Life on Earth. I talked a little bit about vacations. And we had done, Amy and I, we did earlier shows about vacations. We did one called Vacations versus Productivity. And that was great fun. Because there's vacations all over, for example, Ayn Rand's writing.
Yes, you were talking about that quite a lot. Ayn Rand, she liked her vacations.
She has her characters go on week-long vacations, months-long vacations, like it's perfectly normal to just go away for the whole summer, like Dominique Franken did every summer. So, episodes worth hearing, if I do say so myself. Now, why are we thinking about vacations? Well, as we mentioned, we were gone. We weren't here last Sunday, and sorry about that, especially to our patrons, because we know that you support the show because we do work hard to bring you whatever this is every Sunday at 6 o'clock. So, yes, it was interesting to take a little bit of time off. But
it was great.
We were in Japan. And we were all over Japan. We spent several days, 4 days in Tokyo, but then we got on the Shinkansen, which is the bullet train.
And it looks
200 mile an hour.
exactly like this.
It
This
looks
is what it
just like this
and it
bottle.
goes this way, like that.
Yeah.
Really, really fast, like at 180, 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, top speed was 200. We spent a long time at 180.
Shinkansen.
Yeah.
This is the Hello Kitty bullet train bottle, collectible bottle. It's actually disposable, but I'm collecting it. I'm never going to give it up.
Yes.
It's got Hello Kitty right there, and it's just the sweetest, cutest bottle ever. So, and it was the actual Hello Kitty Shinkansen bullet train with the ornamentation on the outside of the train, and inside there's like a statue of Hello Kitty.
Why is there all this Hello Kitty stuff in here?
There's all these, all the seats had Hello Kitty on them, and it was really sweet. And then they had a Hello Kitty store, and my friend Lily, she bought a Hello Kitty bag. I bought a Hello Kitty pen and this bottle.
You've got to see pictures. So I'm going to tell you flat out, if you are listening to this show later on the podcast, because we're on all the podcast platforms. So if you're listening to the show later, or if you're playing it off YouTube or Facebook Live, but you're not looking at your screen, there is a post on Facebook at facebook.com/Robert Nasir with pictures that I'm about to talk about. And I'm also going to show them right now, right here. And I
haven't seen these yet.
This is not going to be
I love
an exhaustive or exhausting slideshow. I'm just going to show a few things here. But again, if you are taking this in as a podcast, then you can find these pictures at facebook.com/Robert Nasir. There's a post today, Sunday, April 30th. I guess if you're listening to this weeks from now, you might have to scroll back a little bit. But the first thing we did when we got to Tokyo is collapse from exhaustion. Did you know if you fly to Tokyo from Motown, from Detroit, Michigan,
it's basically 26 hours
through Toronto, it takes forever. Well, It takes an hour to get to Toronto. That's your layover. But then you spend 5 hours in Toronto, or whatever it turns out to be, and then you get on an airplane for 13 hours.
Yeah, that's all.
That's all.
It's. I mean, we got up at like 2:30 in the morning for a 6 a.m. flight. Okay, so it was interesting.
It was crazy, and I mentioned on Thursday I actually looked for airfare to Tokyo, and I looked for it a month from now. Give it a little bit of time so the prices wouldn't be too crazy, and it was $2,200 coach class, steerage class, as we call it. to fly to Tokyo from Detroit. Okay, we got it cheaper than that. Not a lot cheaper than that, but we got it cheaper than that. But to go from coach class to business class, you then go to $7,400 per ticket or $5,200 more. So I joked at the time, well, it's not a joke, but all the objectivists, all those Ayn Rand fans, they're all rich because they listened to Francisco's money speech and figured out, oh yeah, I should be rich. I should make a lot of money. But $5,200 to get out of coach and go up to business class. And three of us, myself, Miss Amy, and my daughter came.
Yes, our daughter Diana.
So that would be $15,600, not even for the tickets. That would just be the cost to upgrade to business class.
So we need to talk about the picture here.
Oh, yeah. So, well, I was just making the point that we flew, we collapsed, and then we got up that same day, that same evening, and said, no, we need to get out of the hotel. Yeah. And we walked from the hotel to the Tokyo Tower.
It was the most magical experience, one of the most magical experiences I've ever had in my life, because it was kind of rainy, kind of drizzly, really, and very, very foggy. So you get up and you see this orange glow. That's the first thing that notice, that you see this orange glow that's sort of like disassociated from anything. You go around this one building, and then all of a sudden you see this tower. And when I saw this in pictures, like in the daylight, amongst the other skyscrapers, I thought, kind of a poor imitation of the Eiffel Tower, maybe. But no, it is not.